Yeah. Yeah. I feel like my father. I'm a preacher's kid. I feel like I'm at the top of the congregation again. So let's just call this church. Amen indeed. Welcome to. Now, I was never briefed on this beforehand, but can I get the actual title of the? Can I say?
Yes.
Can I say the actual title?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
So maybe
Welcome.
whisper it. Yeah.
Okay, into the mic? Whisper it into the mic? Okay, yeah. Gotcha. Well, welcome, New York City Comic Con. The first ever, actually, the last ever, Tiger Driver 9X. Wrestling is for niggas. Of Blackness in pro wrestling. My name is Jay Rose. I will be your host for however long until they decide, yeah, y'all gotta go. And I am joined by some of the most esteemed members of the Black wrestling community. Let's start it off with the man furiously typing to my right. This, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, is Chris Wilson, the founder of Tiger Driver. Artist,
It was good.
designer, videographer, man of many talents. All right. Sitting to his right is a woman that most of us call either auntie or mama, mother or sister, a family member to us all, and most importantly, a retired professional wrestler.
That's right.
We'll see about that.
We'll see about that.
What's poppin', bird? Not guilty, bird.
Next to Faye, we have, in my opinion, one of the most brilliant minds, one of the most underutilized minds in our space today. Please welcome lovely Lavelle. I know that's right. To her right, we have an OG in the game, a man who pretty much started all this sort of wave that we've been riding.
That's right.
That's the truth. You can look surprised if you want to, my brother. I know it's the first time we really interacted, but that is the truth. The man who created this wave from wrestle rap, and I'm gonna say your last name wrong. So I'm gonna say your first name. You told me, but you know this is Black event. We're gonna roll with the punches.
Now, if a white person fucked it up, you know, it'll be a little bit
It'll
of
be an issue, for sure.
Look at me. Do I look white? This is Kazeem. Say your last name for me.
Famuyide.
Give it up, thank you. And down at the end of the road, please
Hey, real quick, Jay Rose.
hit that pose.
3 white people left when you try to pronounce his name. That's the game.
That's insane.
It is a game, man.
Please hit the guest past the pose for me. I'm looking forward to it. At the end of the road, a troublemaker, but starting trouble in all the right scenes.
He's not guilty
And
too.
I've been informed of 2 additional titles, in addition to being a well-acclaimed and one of the premier Black wrestling journalists. He is Sting's #1 fan. And more importantly, and more notoriously, he is the Milkman. Cameron Hawkins, aka Seahawk.
And I'll do it for him. This is one of the most creative, one of the best minds in wrestling. One of the,
What are you doing?
what the hell?
All right.
Well, I guess our video ain't playing. Okay. One of the most creative minds in wrestling, my brother, an incredible ring announcer, an incredible Swiss Army knife talent, Mr. J. Rose.
And our wrestling is for niggas.
Yeah.
Oh.
0. Check. I couldn't have done it better. I couldn't have done this shit any other way. I made it now when they try to convince me to make it another day. Glad I can see another day. I do this shit for my squad, my home team, my family. Fuck what another say. I'm here now. It's all clear now. Somebody go up. I'm eating good. Y'all can't see my competition till I blow up. I'm toe up, but I keep shit 100. That's from the toes up. Last night it felt like I ran through 4 clubs. Stood on the couch and every single one of them screaming out hoes down and bros up. It's different when we show up kicking those up. I'm a young stunner, young Wayne, I'm young money. I grown up like I'm new head, but I'm nuclear. That's a front threat, motherfucker. Watch how I look up. Glass on the wall of every building that I walk into. Phone taps cause they're curious, can't do what you talking to. Living in starlight, you'll never know who you'll run into. Like baby, I can change a life. Just leave everything that you've been through and ride. Long as my niggas right, then we alright. Long as the women right, then we alright. Long as the drinks are nice, then we alright. Long as it's private flights, then we alright. Long as we living right, then we alright. Long as it's high life, then we alright. Cause I love it more than anything. Waste money over everything, we've been alright.
Oops, sorry.
Like that.
By an incredible editor, Abdullah, over there. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, I think you want Nick. I'm not gonna. We gotta share it. Share on the brother, bro. Go. Go for it. Well, as much as today is a celebration of everything that's black in professional wrestling, come on in, don't be scared. Yeah, that's something to be excited about. Yeah, let's go. Turn this motherfucker up. As much as today is something to be celebrated about, gathering all these influential voices in the black community, there's also time for us to reflect and try and decide what our next steps are as a community to try and get what we think that we want, things that we think that we need, and things that we know we deserve. So, the first question that has been provided to us, allow me to unlock my phone real quick. As voices of influence in the black community, black wrestling community, to be a little more specific, what steps do you all believe that we need to take to stop being treated so much as tokens and more so like champions as we are in all other non-scripted forms of athletic competition and entertainment? I know that's a deep question to start off with. I didn't know it's deep in. I know, I'm sorry.
Anybody got a notepad?
That's a hell of a way to start. I guess I'll take this one. I would say the first thing that needs to be changed, whether it's WWE, AEW, any sort of like mainstream wrestling promotion, just look outside, man. Like it ain't that difficult. Like you look at any form of entertainment, any form of athletics, any form of just, we everywhere. And not only we everywhere, we're thriving in every sort of entertainment, every form of athletics. So it's almost just disingenuous to put on a wrestling program or put on any sort of program and have black people be treated less than or looked at less than, because it ain't like that in the UFC, it ain't like that in the NBA, it ain't like that in the NFL, it ain't like that in Marvel, it ain't like that anywhere. So, you know, this is $1 billion industry, it just doesn't make any damn sense why you would, look at black people as less than. So I would just say to anybody who's a promoter, anybody who's a writer, anything like that, just look outside. It's very easy to do. It's not that hard. We're not asking for much. You feel me?
To piggyback on that, like, talk money. you just talk money. Like, I went to the prestigious University of Texas at Austin, and we won a national championship right after integration. They looked around and said, look, there's all this talent out here. If we want to win, this is what we have to do. Like Kaz was saying, every sport, every form of entertainment has looked around and said, look, black people being a part of this in prominent positions make this better. Like, I'm looking at the audience. Think about how many movies your mother took you to see just because Denzel was in it. Okay. And think about how many movies got skipped that weekend or the next weekend because you went and saw the movie that they wanted to see, right? Sometimes it's just about putting their face in a prominent position, in a good spot, and people will flock to it. Yeah. Like, it's really just that simple. And all you got to do is show, like, these promoters, these managers, everybody, look, everybody else is making more money with black people in a good spot. Why don't you want money? Ain't this about money? Like, in a lot of cases, not everybody's case, but money will trump racism if you give them enough money. And you can't show me a sport, a form of entertainment, or even like a corporation that hasn't benefited from having somebody black in a good spot. It helps all the time because black people want to spend money on black people. Yep. And black people got some money. Yep. I ain't got no money. He got no money. Chris got some money, but you know what I mean. Like, people want to put their black dollar towards black entertainment, black sports. Why not get more money? And white people don't stop watching the NBA because black people play. White people don't stop watching. Y'all seen a Buffalo Bills, what they do before the game? Y'all seen the tailgate? You seen Bills Mafia? They were out there jumping through tables like they wrestlers. And they don't stop watching because LaShawn McCoy gets 1,000 yards. Like, it's right there for the taking.
Yeah, and I'm gonna take it even a step deeper than what you're saying. A lot of people forget that pro wrestling is still predetermined and is all decision makers. Word. So it's the people in the office that are still a lot of 60-year-old, 50-year-old white men that are making the decisions for us and what they want us to portray. And because we're in these certain spots, we don't want to come across as problematic or difficult to work with as soon as we try to speak up. As soon as we get someone that is like us in the office, that is a producer, that is an agent, that will speak up for our talent, then we will be able to show prominence of our black talent. But until they decide to retire, they think that, prime example, like, I don't want to put it like, Keith Lee is there. And as soon as Keith Lee decided to go as Keith Bearcat Lee, everyone was like, well, Bearcat, what is that? And he is trying to, there's a wrestler from back in the day that went by Bearcat. So he's just trying to play homage, but at the same time, we know Keith Lee as Keith Lee. So why does he have to pay homage to someone from back in the day when he's his own person?
That's a good point.
But that's because the decision makers in the back decided,
we
want you to be like this. So you're going to do this.
I'll tell you this. My first day, I don't even think I ever told this story, but literally my first day when I was interviewing to be a writer for WWE, I walked in and told them my history, told them everything I've done, and once the whole thing was over, the first thing they asked me was like, well, Kaz, do you have any questions? And I said, the first thing I said was, well, it's awful bright in here. Like, how can I get to it? It would be nice to have some black folks come in, and to their credit, they say, you know what, we understand that, we're working on it. And this is probably, 2000, what year was it? 2018? Like 2017, 2018? Right before Kofi, and I think last year just got signed, and I was working with Leo, working with a lot of those guys, and you hit the nail right in the head. Like, ain't a whole lot of black folks back there making decisions. I mean, things have definitely changed. Like, that writers room is definitely a lot more blacker than it was when I was there. But
it took for you to get there.
And a lot of those meetings weren't easy meetings to have. You know what I mean? Like, I'll tell you, the first person I talked to, first two people I talked to while I was there was a guy by the name of Ranjit Singh, who you guys may know, used to walk around with Great Khali, and Road Dogg Jesse James. And Road Dogg, who, you grew up with Road Dogg, you thinking Road Dogg one of y'all. Which
I put my mask on because I'm saying bad words under it.
I know, and I could only speak from my own personal, relationship with him, and he's always been hella cool. And the first thing he said, and this is right before they got the Fox deal, was like, we need a black world champion. Like, we're gonna have a black world champion going to Fox. Like, we're going to make that happen. And I don't know if it's like a quota to be met or whatever, but like at that point, at the time, and this is before Kofi, this is before all that shit, I'm just like, yeah, let's, whatever we gotta do to get there, let's get there. Because they understood, I mean, to their credit, you said it right, money's gonna trump racism a lot of times. And they saw where it was going. And to be honest, I think, they'll never admit this, but I think initially, that first black world champion it was building up to make was Lashley. Now, Kofi Mania happened, and a lot of times, you guys are always gonna trump whatever happens in those rooms, right? Like, even if they go and do some shit that you're not really fucking with, you gotta make your voices heard. You gotta make it be known that, like, yo, this is, at the end of the day, y'all pay their salary.
And I'm glad you said that. That was actually gonna be my segue. For you guys, because a lot of times we hear the fans champion for what we want to see. You know what I mean? So from the fans' perspective, you've got to put your money where your mouth is.
Yes, sir.
All we can, we can tweet all day, we can hashtag all day, but if you're not showing them that you're supporting these people with your money, they're not gonna listen. The reason why we got New Day to where they are is because of the money that we put behind the brothers. Them brothers were, I think they were at the top when it comes to the merch, if not the top number 2.
It's them and Cena.
Yeah.
When I was there.
And when I tell you, I don't care what color you are, green, like he said, green gonna shine clear. So if you guys want to see more representation and us treated the way that we know that we need to be treated, your wallet, your purse, your debit card, your Cash App is what they gonna see. You're gonna have to start buying this merch. You guys are gonna have to start buying things that you see us in the headlines and us main eventing. You gotta put your money behind it. Otherwise, they gonna think we just talking. All those protests don't mean nothing unless you put money behind it. Same thing that happened out there in the civil rights, same thing working here. Yep. You got to put your money where your mouth is. So that's how you do that.
And that's just not on mainstream level. Another question, that's what the question was, but it's on the independent level too.
Yes.
If you see everyone that's signed to AEW now, they are all independent stars for the most part. And a lot of people put their support behind them, their money behind them. Prime example, I think in our community, the person that got supported the most was Lee. And look at where that got me. You see how MJF got supported, Jungle Boy had a 2-year run in PWG. All these people on top of the world support the independent level. They'll see how you're talking about them and how you rock with them, and be like, oh, no brainer to put them on our brand. Sometimes we're doing merch for black wrestlers and other people like that. The amount of people that say, oh, I'll buy this, I'd love to rock this, I rock this person, but then the buy rate alone, pretty sure Tessa Blanchard done got at least 100 t-shirt buys this week. And we just gonna make sure that changes, you feel me? We gotta make that a little bit different.
Facts.
That's a good way to end that one.
And to y'all credit as far as making y'all voices heard, like, I know a lot of folks was not really rocking with AEW Feminine because it was looking real white. And if you notice, and to their credit, for the past several weeks, they have done, obviously they're probably not going to throw nobody no world title shots off rip, but like they've absolutely put in a lot more black wrestlers in prominent positions because we've let it be known that it's like, all right, like, we see what WWE is doing, and it's not to say like, they're doing it for all the right reasons or whatever reasons you may think, but you see this audience gravitating towards these people. It just makes smart business sense to go after Leo Rush, go after Lee Moriarty, go after, anybody who's out there. The same sort of independent stars you was talking about, Jungle Boy, MJF, all those guys. Like, I saw the conversations that were happening in your mentions about like, well, what are they gonna do? Just throw them at the top? Like, nah, nobody's saying that. But it was all just green and indie guys a few years ago too, So it's just like
They need a shot.
They need a shot, and you guys are the best way to give them that shot because they're always gonna follow what you guys say and where you spend your money.
And they love to call people homegrown.
Ooh, baby.
They love it. They love it. Even if they trained with somebody else for like 15 years, but that's a big thing too. So when we talk about somebody on the independent level, getting to the major level, if you're telling a company this is who they should have, they are able to frame that. Because the people in this room are following wrestling on a different level than the people who only watch a WWE, only watch a AEW. So you also have a chance to put somebody who looks like you into somebody's living room that they've never seen before. And that's super important. Like, you know, we have conversations about representation specifically. And, you know, I got even friends who were like, I don't see what the, like black friends, I don't see what the big deal is about having a black person in this spot or this spot. Why can't it just be wrestling? I'm like, because nothing's just nothing, man. Nothing is just anything. You want black postmen, you want black cashiers, you want black everything, right? Because you want people like you to succeed. And there's no harm in that. You know, and especially when you are in a position to where you can help somebody like that, you will be wrong not doing it. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
To that, wrapping up this point, your support in building these homegrown stars starts at the level of independent wrestling. And I'm not going to say any names because it would literally get me in so much trouble, but I was having a discussion with one of my mentors, and they were telling me that one of the premier, it's not who you think, one of the premier professional, like indie wrestling promoters was scrambling to find wrestlers in the general East Coast area, which is asinine to me and to anybody else who follows independent wrestling that knows that there is a multitude of more than talented black independent wrestlers in that area and across the country.
Absolutely.
If you don't see the vision that you want represented in the companies that you're supporting, there are other companies ran by people who look like just like you and me who do get with the program. As much as we may want to change and hold the hands of the companies who we want, or we see as the top level, let's start making the places that are owned by people who look like us and make those the top level. Everywhere in independent wrestling is dominated by two things: metal, which has a lot to associate with deathmatch wrestling, and hip hop.
Yes.
And yet, most of these hip hop promotions are run by the most rhythmless, not tapped in white people, when there are people, and I'll say it, that look just like me, because it is me, who are doing
Because it's you.
Is it right?
It's literally me. We're doing the things that you want to see. Let's build up those companies and make those the premier destinations. Because if we do that, the pipeline is just going to be a little bit smoother. Next question, and if you are looking on Twitter, we asked for suggestions, and to the handful of you who did, thank you. To everyone else who looked at the tweet, retweeted it, and didn't ask anything, what's up with that? We don't bite. We want to hear what you want to know. So this question, I believe, and I may get this wrong because Google Sheets is not a very good application, comes from I can't even say that, Allie. That is their name. They say their name is Allie. And they asked, where will black wrestling be where it's no longer in vogue? On an indie level, we can thrive, yes, but on a mainstream, big two TV level, it really feels like pushing black wrestlers is a fad that we keep falling for, because they know we support our own. It doesn't feel like the status quo has changed. Know what I mean? Thoughts?
That goes back to who the decision makers are. It goes back to who is actually running the company. Yeah, we need more microphones, because look.
They can hear you.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, that goes back to who's actually running the company. Like, I got word that my future father-in-law, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, is trying to learn more about the hip-hop culture. That's why they were at Rolling Loud. Now, why are they trying to capitalize on the hip hop culture now? Is it because it's extremely mainstream? Why not go back to what they were doing with the metal and the Metallica and things like that? That's because they know.
Nobody want to see that shit.
One, yes, and they know that we support our own product. What is AEW doing at the moment?
Yeah, catering to the audience. Yeah, I mean it's no secret.
Yeah,
You know
I
what it is?
mean, listen. I like AEW. I think AEW is a well-run show, but they're doing what most companies do, and they're super serving their audience.
Yes.
You know, and to be honest, I look at a lot of those crowds, and I look at a lot of those locker rooms, and I know a lot of people back there, and there's not as much. And mind you, I understand that like it is still new, and people are gonna be like, well, they've just been around, whatever. I get that, because WWE is just getting around to being like pretty black, like just now, like a week ago, really. So it's nothing that, you know, to answer the question as far as when will it not be a fad and when we'll kind of stop talking about it. I always think like real black equality, especially when it comes to entertainment and athletics and all that, is when we're allowed to when we're allowed to not be excellent, right? Like anytime we get put into a situation or a place where you need to succeed, it's always black excellence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't even be mid. We don't get a chance to be mid.
No.
Like I was watching Geno Smith ball out yesterday. I'm like, that's black equality right there, right? Like when you could just be an average ass backup
You got
quarterback,
a 67 QBR.
right? Like when you could be like Josh McCown and just have backup jobs for the next 15, 20 years because he was alright once upon a time.
But see, that's also something that we need to talk about too, because a lot of times we say equality when we mean equity. You have to know what you're asking for. Because what will happen is that you'll have black equality, but that means that they'll bring some of the white folk down to our level.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And everybody has to be corny or campy or all of that stuff. So to answer the question, the only time that it's really going to not be a fad is when it's a black-owned company on TV.
Yes.
Because I'm going to tell you the truth. Every company that is owned by a white person and you start to see black people's faces there and you start to see black champion, it's always a fad. They don't care because it's nothing personal for them. They know who it's always going to be a catering, it's always going to be a pandering, no matter what company it is, until it's our company. You understand what I'm saying? So when you have white-owned companies and you see a flush of black champions, it's always a fad for them. Because they're like, let's give them this so they can shut up. Let's give them this so they can pay their money. Let's give them this so they can say, oh, well, at least we got this one. Because you know that's always the argument when we talk about representation. Well, you had one.
And that's for everyone. And
Yeah.
Case in point, Jinder Mahal.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
So, but to further it along, we have this conversation all the time, and everyone always says that the next step is that we need to be the ones that owns it, right? So, and for a lot of people who have reached out to me, it's like, that's so disheartening, because it's like, what essentially it feels like is like, well, go find a millionaire, damn it. It's like, no, this is not going to happen overnight. So what are the steps as a community that we should be taking in order to get to that?
Sponsorships.
Absolutely.
What we've been doing for independent wrestling. And people have to stop making that such a crippling thing to say. They have made getting sponsorships so taboo, like you're less than. No, that's not what that means. Because these other Caucasian billionaires and millionaires, they putting their money together.
Yep.
All these people ain't got that kind of money. They're putting their money together. So when we start putting our money together to get the results that we're wanting and we're desiring, that's when we're going to see changes. So, that's always a conversation of, we got to go find the money. The money is here. If y'all think about how much money, black women, how much money we spend on health? How much money do we spend on things that we want? That's when you start realizing, okay, do you really want what you say you want? Because you're going to put your money where your mouth is.
And you don't think these big companies, these big wrestling companies, don't have sponsors to help them out to begin with, to help pay
These
their
commercials?
bills?
That's what an
Why are
ad
they
is.
commercials?
Why is this so bad for independent wrestling to ask for sponsors?
Exactly.
And like, I believe the disconnect between the promoter's brain and the rest of the wrestling community is that the devil's advocate, because I don't agree, but I'm just saying what they think. They think that because you take money directly from a fan, that's money that eventually they will be able to spend on a ticket because you already took the additional money to sponsor whatever is happening. And it's asinine because people can decide how to make and spend their money however the fuck they want.
Exactly.
No one is, if you decide to sponsor a wrestler and then the next week something happens, your house blow up or something, I don't know, then what the damn do? That's how you spend your money. If I wake up the next day and I'm like, I want to buy 6,000 chicken nuggets and I'm like, damn, I ain't got no money. Well, fuck, I spent it on 6,000 chicken nuggets. What do you expect? Anything may happen. That sort of thinking is asinine because it's still money that you're getting for your product. If it's not repeat money, then you used it to spend it in this certain case. And if the question is, well, then it's just diluting the pool and people are only sponsoring for these big old projects, well then, maybe it's time you try and reach out and try and support somebody that isn't just a wrestling fan.
Exactly.
Wrestling is for niggas is something that was born out of the fact that me and Chris were talking about, like, if you show Jeff Hardy to any black person under the age of 30 right now, they're like, oh my God, it's Jeff Hardy. It doesn't matter what he's doing. He's Jeff Hardy.
Why are you calling us old down here?
I didn't know it was
He was outside. We saw WrestleMania in 2000.
I was ready.
I'm sorry. That wasn't anybody under 40, if you saw Jeff Hardy, then everybody's gonna be like,
You raise an interesting point as far as sponsorships and reaching out outside of just the pro wrestling bubble. Initially, we did Wale Mania a few times. The first couple of times were like, we linked up with Court Bauer, who runs MLW, and the original idea was, well, we can create this wrestling show where Wale is kind of like the host and like we can do all these other things, whatever. And for reasons, whatever it was, it's like, all right, we kind of got to scale it back and just do what we can do for now because, to be honest, putting together wrestling shows loses money a lot.
say it again for the people in the back, please.
Like putting together wrestling shows loses a lot of money sometimes. So the first time I got to, take Wale Mania was here in New York. It was a few days right before this. And the one thing that really helped it was being able to show other brands like, look at this network that you're not even tapping. I think we had Ciroc, we had Viceland, we had a bunch of brands that just saw the numbers, saw the people, saw we had a rapper that people knew about, and was like, yeah, here's some money, let's go make this happen, right? And it kind of mixes in not just the sponsorships, but we had incredible support from black wrestlers. You know what I'm saying? Like, we had the New Day come through. We had Leo come by, Swerve, MVP. Not even just black, like Corey Graves and Charlie, Samoa Joe, like every Brody was there.
I thought you said Cody.
No, bro.
Even before then, like, and you raise an interesting point. Even before then, like, it can't just be us supporting us. Like, there's a lot of white folks in here. Like, y'all gotta be there and help out too. Before, we brought it to New York, like, we would have the Young Bucks come through. Like, Cody would come through. Like, every pre-AEW days, everybody pulled up because Wale was a guy that he came and supported. He would pull up to indie shows, no bread, no nothing, just because he's a fan. And he would we used to watch Ricochet and Apollo and all these guys wrestle in literal barns, before they got signed to these big deals. So when they made it big, it was like, they know he's not coming through on some like clout shit. He's like, he's a genuine supporter. So it's not just sponsorships, it's not just support, it's a mixture of all that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it can't just be, to answer that question, it's not a one size-fits-all sort of situation. It takes a lot of things for this to kind of make this work.
And another thing that J. Rose said when he said the promoters feel a way about taking money from fans thinking it's losing money. There are so many content creators out here that look just like all us. And I've told a lot of friends that if you have a podcast, put an account aside for your podcast to help sponsor these shows. I'm gonna say it, and I don't care how y'all feel about it. There's not one podcast working harder than Jobberteers. If you do not know who they are, you guys.
Shout out to Wilkins in the back. We see you back.
Wilkins here?
Yeah.
Oh, let's go, Wilkins.
Y'all need to follow them.
That is not okay.
I need you guys to understand that when you want to see that representation.
Hey, yo,
One second. I came here to see my whitest friend I know, Seahawk, aka Cam.
Did somebody take a picture for my mother?
Me and the boys call him Dennis. I'm also here to answer and field all BLM questions.
Why is that funny?
Where's security?
Why is that funny?
You have out here?
Jeez. No, I'll take like 3 questions, then I'll go back to my table. You can find me at the high spots / was it nerd shirt?
Yes.
I don't even know the damn thing.
You don't even know the people who pay you?
All I know is they pay me a lot of fucking money here. I'm not gonna lie to you people.
Can you give us some of that money for sponsorship?
Yeah, hold on, wait.
Wait, no, you're for the cause, right?
Yeah, we're for the
money our way.
We were just talking about it.
We were talking about sponsorship.
We talking about sponsors.
Whoa. Let's relax a little bit, all right? I don't even know, in all honesty, don't get offended when I ask you this.
What? Oh my God.
You can't say it.
You don't know what a tiger driver is?
What does it mean? Like, what are you? You know,
It's a brand.
Can I ask a question now?
brand now. What's up?
Can I ask a question? We ask a question?
Can we just form a line, please?
Yeah, we actually were gonna do questions,
honestly,
but
I'm a civilized man, and I would just prefer if we could just kind of streamline this.
this is not your panel.
Please, now please. All right, you know what? Raise your hand if you want to ask a question.
Well, hold on, excuse me.
All right, anybody but that guy. I don't like
Wait, hold on.
We're here talking about black spaces, bro.
Wait. Did you just colonize this? Wait.
I'll have you know, if I was a regular white person, I'd take that, but I'm Jewish. We ain't colonized shit, okay? We done been colonized too, okay? Let's relax.
This is prime example
Listen,
of a white man and black people's business.
listen. All right, I'm gonna field some questions. Who's got a question? Seriously.
This is a freshman mania.
No. This ain't like them crowds you used to. There's some melanin in here and they'll talk back. So
Some, what did you say?
And that's why
not to be confused with melatonin, which is what happens to people praying when you
I
wrestle.
take that part. I gotta go to sleep. For real though, I answer like 3 questions and I'm gonna fucking leave.
Did white people fund the insurrection?
What?
What?
All right, that's number 1. Number 2.
All right, number
Second question.
Just remember
Do
who
some research.
you got questions. Just yeah, go ahead. You back there.
If I'm being honest, is there a microphone in here? Can everybody hear me?
Why are you putting them at the front?
Hello.
So to answer your question respectfully, I really just hang out with Wardlow for the most part. Sure, the locker room's nice, not my kind of people.
What does that mean?
Just being, listen, I don't like it. Oh, don't make it like that. Let's relax. Let's cancel MJF. All right, last question, or I'm gonna tiger drive this guy. Last question. Anybody?
Nobody. Yeah.
Yes. I don't know. Jeez.
Oh, you're not gonna go for the black woman?
Yeah.
You're not gonna go for the black woman?
I'm sorry, Sam. She didn't raise her hand.
All right. Okay. What is it?
All right. How big of a donation are you going to give?
That's what I'm talking about.
So I believe the question was, how big of a donation are you going to give to these black wrestling causes? The purpose of this panel and the entire reason why we have gathered today.
That is a great question. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave. And whoa! Guys, I'm not a politician. I'm going to leave. I'll come back with money. I swear.
Wait, one thing.
Cam, we'll see you at the pool game on Saturday, all right?
And Deb.
Where were you on January 6th? This is not my joke. But for real, if you have any questions for real, anybody?
Let me finish.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm sorry that one man interrupted us. I'm sorry.
So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna let you finish. If you have a question, start lining up now because we don't have colored people time, so we gotta get to going. If you have a question, you see where that carpet strip starts changing into other carpet, line up. Okay.
Just to wrap the point up, for other content creators, podcasts, whatever you do, YouTube channels, if you want to see these things happen and you want to sponsor these independent shows, put a separate account aside, have you and your team filter money into that one account and have that account be for things like this. You have to put your money where your mouth is or you just gonna be talking. And I'm gonna be asleep. So let's start working that out, okay? But if y'all have y'all questions, go ahead and get your line up.
And while you're forming, don't be shy. Come on, you can form while I'm talking. Yeah. Go, give it up for us being the first one to ask a question. Stop right there. There you go. Real quick, if you're looking for some places where you can give said money, you know what I'm saying? And not like, this is legit, I'm not joking. You can give it to places like Battle Club Pro right here in New York. You can give money to, and I'm biased because I used to be office, you can give it to Paradigm Pro Wrestling in Louisville, Kentucky. You can give it to Fight Club down in the District of Columbia, the 51st state. You can give it, if they're taking it, to a West Coast Pro, which has a show later tonight on IWTV you should watch, and I get paid for that. You should watch that. Give it to West Coast Pro. You can give it to New Texas Pro. They can also give it to shop.tigerdriver9.com. So we running out of time. We're running out of time. So if we're gonna try and lighten through these questions, but if there's something to try like rips us, you know what I'm saying? We gonna keep it. We gonna try and speak on it. So my friend, we ain't got no mic for you. Budget kind of low.
Okay.
It's okay.
I can project.
Y'all gotta, as most of our mamas used to say, you gotta use your big boy voice. So,
That's right.
what is your question?
All right, question is, I was wondering, when you're breaking into the business for the first time as a black wrestler, what were some of the biggest hurdles that you had to overcome?
Oh, stereotypes. What they want you to be and how they wanted you to portray yourself as, no matter what. Because, you know, they just decided, hey, you're this black man. You got a chain on. You should come out as Hip Hop Harry or something bullshit. You know, that's the first thing they see. But who are you? You have to figure out as someone that's entering this business, who are you and who do you want to portray? Don't let nobody else tell you who you are. And
to also answer this question, a surprise guest on our panel, the man currently known as After Amada. Give it up for After. You too, if you don't like what you don't know, he's really damn good. Go.
So, to break into the business and be yourself, what is your favorite fighting game?
Good question. I would say at the moment, Blaze Blue.
Alright, you know what mine is? Def Jam Fight for fucking New York.
Nice.
When I started wrestling, I just did whatever my trainer told me to do. He said, oh, wear black tights, wear this, wear that. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna do this. And I started telling myself, okay, well, I'm gonna start wearing because I think people like it when I wear this. You know what I wear now? I wear jeans. I wear Jordans. I wear Adidas when I wrestle. You know why? Because I want to wrestle what I feel like I like. And if I vibe with that, people, and I'm confident when I vibe with that, people will go with that. 100%.
Yep.
Definitely.
And to another point, like you can look at that and just look at, for example, Kofi, from when he first started, the getup they had him wearing, and it's a great gimmick, and we all love that, but then you look at him now, wearing Jordans, all his gear is inspired by stuff that he likes. Like, there are people that took doing what they like and who they are and putting it just into their characters and what they're doing.
I thought that you had no creative freedom. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
okay, but like that on the independent level, there's two. This is the last thing I'm saying. There are two levels to this. There's what you like, and there's what works. So, in a lot of instances, and I'm not gonna name no names, there are people on the independents like, oh, I'm gonna do what I love, and that shit's fucking trash. But you keep finding yourself, you keep developing, you keep figuring out what you're going to do, and eventually you're going to become the version of wrestler that you want to be on the independents. Now, when somebody else is, when you sign your name away and you give the right for somebody to tell you this is who you are, well then, brother, that's between you and the person that you shook the hand with.
Yes.
But on the independents, you have creative freedom to be and do who you want to be. Now, whether or not you get booked because of it is whether or not that works. But you can be whoever the fuck you want, and don't let nobody tell you differently. Thank you for your question, my brother.
Hi, I was wondering, how soon do you think WWE would put the world belt on Xavier Woods?
How soon?
Ooh. Yeah.
King of the Ring.
I don't think it'll be that long. I mean, they already got 2 out of 3, and he is somebody who is not just a great ambassador for their company, but you know he's doing G4. Like he's as mainstream as they get. Like even if he's not like mainstream in the traditional sense of like a John Cena or somebody like that, but he can come here and be treated like a rock star. He can control lots of places. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think it's too far away. I mean, King of the Rings this starts this weekend. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm sure there's.
They only brought back King of the Ring because as much as he promoted it, and they put him in it. He promoted it so much, and then the first time around, they didn't put him in it.
Manifestation, man.
He's an institution. Like he really is an institution there, and all the different things that he touches, like the worlds that he's able to be a part of, is super impressive. And so, like even as a story, if it's just to say all these guys in this group had the title, because you know they had another group where everybody was world champions, then there wasn't a guy there, and it's like he was never there. And so one thing that that company likes to do is call people like Goldberg the icon, when that's been somebody else's name. The wrestler some of y'all like, it was somebody else's name for like 20 years. And so, you know, it just, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so I could see it happening storyline-wise, or even just, you know, him having earned it because he's done so much.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else got anything else to add? Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hello.
Welcome. What you got for us?
I want to thank all you guys for your time. I appreciate it so much. So when there's a lot of criticism with black wrestling, especially in AEW and WWE, but then you have companies right under that, like Impact, Ring of Honor, MLW, GCW, who make their champions black or in the top. But a lot of people just don't talk about it. What do you think these companies could do to like say, hey, like Ring of Honor, we have a Jonathan Gresham, you know what I mean? Like we have like Rich Swann and Willie Mack and Impact, but nobody's really acknowledging that. What do you think these companies can do?
Acknowledge it.
Well, but like as a fan, like let's say I didn't know about that. How could I like find out about this? Like,
Let me help you.
Yeah.
So a lot of these companies, a lot of the wrestlers, they are now utilizing fans to help fan outreach. I'm one of those people. Like we were talking about Ring of Honor.
Yep.
I do that for STP. I'm the fan outreach person to get them in front of people who don't know that they're there. So when they start, like you were saying, reaching outside their outside sources, stop thinking about the people in the back, start looking at the people in the front.
Yep.
So we as the fans have to start doing that too, kind of putting them in your face. And these companies also need to work on their marketing too, because if you're not who they want you to be, they're not gonna put their money behind you too, but that's a different story.
Nope.
Yeah, a step that I made, real quick, a step that I made working for Pro Wrestling Torch was, I was like, I want to interview people, but I don't want to interview the same 8 wrestlers everybody else wants to interview. And so there was a local show in San Antonio, and they had a bunch of people on the card, and I said, hey, look at this kid, AJ Gray, right? Watched some of his tape, and I was like, I reached out, I was like, hey, do you want to do an interview about the show? And we, you know, have a relationship now, and now he does interviews where he's eating ribs during the interview. But that's the biggest thing, like the people who you talk to, like whoever you read, whoever's podcast you listen to, that's who you need to be talking to about these wrestlers on these smaller scales. Because that's the people you want to hear information from. Like, you know what the New Day eats for breakfast.
Yeah. Right.
You're aware of that. They can only say that so many times, right? And they're doing their own thing in the podcast world. But the different media that you like, the people you like to listen to, the people who do these podcasts, ask them to interview these wrestlers that you feel aren't getting like they're just due out here in the world, because these are some of the most interesting people you've ever met. Like the people who haven't made it, they say more than somebody who has made it. And eventually, you're gonna be like, man, this person is so genuine. That's who I want to see on my TV. That's who I want to see get the money. So yeah, whatever media you listen to, reach out to them, have them talk to the people you want to see.
And on that note, chief plug, I work for PostWrestling.com. We have an interview with Andrew Thompson. All he does is he's black himself, and he interviews all the black talent. So you guys check out Post Wrestling, the podcast, Nubian Wrestling Advocates. We try our best.
How would you get your plug in?
Only because we try on our part to make sure your voices are heard. So I'm just trying to help you guys.
We appreciate
Thank you.
so
Thank
much,
you for your
man.
time again.
For sure.
Thank you.
One last thing to your point, their idea, my execution, black wrestling draws is literally that whole purpose. If you want these places to get the support that you want them to get, watch, tell somebody. It's as simple as that. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
All right, so there was the statement earlier about running a black business, promotion. And another issue in the business has been women, and to that point that you made earlier, we have WOW, which is an all-women's promotion.
Here we go.
So, now, not to put attention on that, but the question is, since there's enough talent, education, and experience up here, what does that black promotion look like? Money aside, what does it look like? Where's it at?
You have gotten to the point of the program that I can speak on. So, the black experience is something that we all share, but it's not something that is one-to-one to every single person. We all live each and every single different sort of lives. Yeah. So, I think that the ideal black wrestling show takes a lot from the different sort of things that we like about our own culture. This is not to toot my own horn, this is just to use it as an example. I created a show that was on IWTV called No Hook. And No Hook was literally a amalgamation of things that I love. It was in addition to that, it was what people were telling me what they wanted out of a wrestling show. They said, I can watch AEW or back then NXT and get all the wrestling I want. Where's the stories? Where's the shenanigans at? That's where I want. Okay, I'll give you story, I'll give you shenanigans. They say, I want actual hip hop in my wrestling. Okay, I reached out to a bunch of independent artists and got their songs featured on the show. They said that I want black focused wrestling. Well, the main character was a gentleman by the name of Don't Die Miles, who was a 24-year-old dreadhead, and the main villain was a man by the name of Myron Reed. These are the things that you want to see. And there are other examples of the black wrestling show out there. If you look at Fight Club out of DC, they have a show called, I was on it and the name escapes me, but they have a series.
Mochella, boy.
Mochella, we were both on it. It's called Mochella, and that has local music videos. It has local skits. It has almost an entirely black roster. And it encompasses a lot of the black experience, whether it be on the nerd side, whether it be to the street side, comedy, rich, poor, it don't even matter. That's what it looks like. Instead of the experiences of one white man or the collective experiences of a group of white men. That's what it may look like.
And it don't have to be just one black promotion.
I know that's right.
It can be a plethora.
Yes.
Y'all gotta stop thinking just because we got one black show, that's it, we did it. No.
I run for the culture. For the culture is not the only thing that's out there.
That's so much.
There's so much more. Please support something else too. I'm begging.
Be tired.
All right, we got like 4 more minutes left. Was there 2 questions there?
Yes.
So really quickly, as you mentioned for the culture, that's what I was coming up with. For the culture is important, and GCW does it every now and then. But I wanted to know, I appreciate you guys saying what you're saying. I want to know, it's a couple of folds to the question, right? What are the next steps? I will say that knowing that the black wrestling community is huge, I'm a little disheartened by the number of people in this room. I feel like it should have been bigger. I feel like it was spoken about, but what can we do to raise those numbers? That's the first part. The second part are, what are some other steps, right? You have mentioned that our pocketbooks, our bags, right, our coins is where it needs to be said. So, okay, let's encourage people to spend, but what are the next steps, right? What is like the index, for the lack of better words, of the promotions to promote where people look like us, right? So where do I find those? Because usually the heads of the promotions aren't always at the forefront. And the last part is, how do we make a bigger voice so that it's not just a for the culture event that happens ever so often? It shouldn't be Juneteenth that happens. It shouldn't be during February that it happens. For the culture should happen every 2 weeks, you know what I'm saying, for the lack of better words. Because we're out here, we're big, and there are enough of us. So it doesn't have to be 2 to 3 to 4 times a year where it exists. What can we do so that it's more common and it's not, like you said, taboo or something that's a special occasion wrestling because we're people of color doing it?
Well, first things first, let's just point out the simple fact that we're here.
Absolutely.
So regardless of how many people are here right now, it's the fact that Chris was able to do this.
Yes.
Right. So that's one is we got it here. So around this time next year, this room will be doubled, it will be tripled. It always takes the stepping stone at first.
Next year's will be the women's panel, all women's, we ain't gonna be here.
That is a good motherfucking question, and you need to exchange contact info with me, because like that is a bigger question than we have time for, but god damn it, that is so fucking important.
We can't break these people's stuff.
We consider that one.
Get MJF to buy a new one.
You right.
We got 1 minute left, but it starts here and it keeps going.
Yeah.
Just keep on supporting. Like the hardest part is getting people to support, getting people to care. Like, and there's no real way to say that, but keep doing it. Like we've been doing this now for 2 years, Tiger Driver, and we just keep pushing it. And most importantly, I cannot not talk about how important Kaz was to that. And it's important to, when Kaz let me do Wrestle Rap, and he let me do social media, and I learned all that stuff, and I saw what he did, and I can do what I do. And when I do what I do, I can tell other people how to do that. It's important that it's kind of like it just trickles down, so we can all create these spaces and help everybody.
Realize everybody can eat. That's what you need to realize. Everybody can eat. Help somebody, teach somebody something. Don't be afraid to ask people that you see succeeding. Yeah. Ask questions and teach each other. That don't take nothing away from you at all.
They ain't gonna kick us out. What is your question?
I just want to know what the name of the podcast was that you recommended?
Jobber Tears. They are in the building.
How do you spell that?
Jobber
Tears.
She's right there.
The man right there in the mask in the back, that's the man right there. You can get the information right from him.
Where's WinPR at? Is WinPR here?
Yeah, right here. Patricia's right there. That's those wrestling girls.
Yeah, those wrestling girls. I forget who, but if you follow us every Follow Friday, someone makes a list of every black podcast, every black content creator. It exists. The Tiger Driver newsletter will have that. Time is up right now.
Also,
run the time,
don't forget to check out the Masked Man Show on the Ring Network, Spotify, my podcast all day.
South Florida's podcast with a K.
We got a couple of 8x10s, we got some cornbread jars, and we got some Black Excellence t-shirts and prints.
And we got jewelry.
Yeah, and jewelry, lovely jewelry. I mean, come on. Exclusive Tiger Driver necklaces and wristbands.